Hello and welcome to basically Bloodbowl. And today we're going to be looking at all things gnomes. So today we had a package arrive from Games Workshop, and inside it had pretty much everything to do with the new gnome release for Bloodbowl. So let's open it up and let's have a look at what's inside. So we start off with the new gnome pitch. Now this box contains one pitch with two sides, both depicting a forest floor. One a representation of the day and the other a healing glow night pitch. And as usual, there's a few things that go with it just to spice up your games and add a little bit of variety. The day pitch, or the forest floor pitch, only has a -1 modifier, and this is to represent the fact that some of the creatures within the forest are going to bed and are pitching down and may just trip up your players as they're running around the board. And this -1 modifier relates to any player attempting a rush. And then at half time we turn over into the amazing healing glow pitch, which looks really spectacular, and we'll have a look at that in a minute. So this healing glow pitch really does give you a better chance as a gnome team. So basically whenever a player is KO'd or suffers a casualty, you roll a d6, and on the roll of a 6 the player is put into the reserves box instead of being KO'd or suffering that casualty. And better still, if this player has a stunted trait, they may apply a +1 modifier, so this roll then becomes a 5 or a 6. And here we can see a closer view of said pitches. This the daytime pitch. And apologies that I can't get the whole thing in the camera, as my little room under the stairs does not accommodate a full-size board. And it's also worth mentioning that there are no trapdoors on this said pitch. They have been replaced with gnomish portals. So basically, if a player runs into this portal, they roll a d6. On a 1, the player is immediately teleported into the reserves box of its team's dugout. If they were holding the ball, they will drop it and we commence as normal. On a 2 to 4, nothing happens. But on a 5+, so a roll of 5 or 6, the player is immediately removed from the pitch and placed on the other gnomish portal, the opposite side of the board. And this opens up huge potential for a one-play touchdown, as the player can literally teleport on a lucky dice roll right to the other side of the board and within touch and distance of a touchdown. Here we see the healing glow pitch, and it really is a lovely, vivid coloured pitch. We also have the gnome dice set. And as you can see, they're a dark blue and red colour, and they're alright. They're not my favourite dice set, but they're a nice set. And they're a nice companion set for the team. We have the team box itself, and after Games Workshop have extended their delivery period till 2 weeks, it's finally nice to get my hands on them. So what do we get in the box? We get 2 identical sprues, as you can see here, and the pieces are relatively small, being that gnomes aren't the tallest of fellas. And as for variety, well, it's relatively disappointing from my point of view. Now, I am one that likes to have his team looking fairly unique, that there's no repetition and that all the characters look quite different to one another. And yes, it's true, you get 2 illusionist faces, you get 2 different Beastmaster faces, as well as 2 different beasts, being the badger and the goose for each one of them. But for the 4 linemen on each sprue, you only get 4 faces. And yes, they're interchangeable, but I would have liked to have seen a little bit more. And yes, you do get a Bloodbowl first, which is random decorations for your bases. But again, you only have the option of 3, and I would rather have seen a few more faces added rather than these little quirky touches. And altogether, there isn't really much variety outside of the Beastmasters on this team, with even the hats just being turned around. It's a bit of a disappointment for me. The transfers are nice. I can't really bemoan the transfers. There's some nice patterns in there, and they do their job. But yeah, I was looking for a little bit more variety, especially within the linemen on this team. So, can the new Spike magazine rescue what has been a subpar release so far? Well, I'm happy to say that from a lore point of view, because it is a brand new team, it's packed with brilliant new stuff. The first few pages, as usual, just detail the team, the positionals, and also their skills and traits, and their primary and secondary skill trees. There's also a reference for the 2 new traits, Myball and Trickster, as well as a list of eligible star players. There's a few famous gnome teams, as well as a little bit of a write-up on the Glimdwaru Geezers, Mirror Marauders, Anti-Moot Meddlers, and the Deep Forest Tricksters. as well as a more detailed team profile on the Glindwaro Groundhogs. But probably my favourite piece is the page 10 star player spotlight on Rowana Forestfoot. Now, we've yet to see her, but she looks like being quite a special star player. She is almost like a female Rumbelow, being that she is a gnome riding a stag, and I for one can't wait to see her model. She comes with a movement 6, strength 3, adds 3+, passing 4+, and armor value of 8+. And for the sum of 160,000, she comes with the skills Dodge, Dump Off, Guard Horns, Jump Up, Leap, and Loner 4+. And there's an interesting special rule called Bounding Leap 2. So basically, once per game, when Rowana is going about to leap, she may use this rule, and it means she suffers no negative modifiers for the agility test, and also has a free reroll if it goes wrong. So it's quite the freebie for jumping into a cage. We see the accompanying star player Rodney Roachbait, as well as a little bit of write-up on his character profile. And here we move on to the Gnome Garden Leagues, and more specifically, the Fey Forest Cup. And there are a few things here that you can use in your game to just add another level, another dimension if you would. So we have the illusionary balls, which is really interesting. So basically on a kickoff, instead of one ball bouncing, there's two balls bouncing, one of which could be real, one of which may not be real. So this means that there are two balls to pick up rather than one. So every time a player attempts to pick up, pass, catch, or hand off the ball, or they attempt to score, they must roll a d6. On a roll of 1, the ball was an illusion and just disappears, meaning that the other ball is the real ball, which adds a really creative dimension. I think this is an amazing special rule, as it brings two balls into play for one, and also any team does not know which ball is the real one, which means you can attack both sides of the pitch at the same time, leading to absolute chaos really. There's a new inducement in Healing Spikes, which costs 50,000 gold pieces, and basically on a reroll, a 1 will recover any KO players at the end of each drive. We see the gnomes get their own variations of the weather tables and the kickoff tables, with some quite comical little write-ups for each dice roll there. The special rules for the pitch, which we've already covered, and then we see gnome balls, where we see an oversized acorn ball. So basically, whenever a player is activated and has possession of the ball, they must roll a d6, and on a 1, the player is hounded by various woodland creatures looking for a snack. This doesn't bring them down, but it does hamper their movement allowance by 2 for the duration of their activation. And then there's the Gnomish Idleball, which means that any player in possession of the Gnomish Idleball, if they are knocked down or fall over, will roll a d6, and on a 6, they somehow keep their footing and do not fall over or get knocked down. There's the usual funny asides with Coffin Corner and Chat with the Rat, as well as a more detailed look on how to run your teams with starting rosters and team development options. And then we get to Acorn the Squirrel, who seems to be the third star player in this Bloodbowl release. Now you can get a representative model with the Treeman, the initial Treeman, a small little acorn which I've used and I will show here. But it remains to be seen whether there will be an Acorn the Squirrel release of some kind from Forge World. We'll just have to wait and see on that one. Then finally, there's a Dungeon Bowl update to accommodate the Gnome team and where everybody can play. And all 4 Gnome positionals are representatives of the Shadow team. And then at the end, there's the usual cartoon, as well as a gallery of painted miniatures, and that is the Spike magazine. All in all, a very enjoyable Spike. And to finish, here's a few constructed miniatures and what they look like when you piece them all together. One of the illusionists here with the mix and match ball options. The linemen in all their glory, and again I must reiterate that they are pretty monopose, not much variety here, and I had hoped for a little bit better after what was a fantastic Vampire release. It would have been nice to see a few more face options and maybe some alternative arms. I think this would really have elevated the team from the sort of average rating that I think they deserve. There's the Beastmasters, and these really are the pièce de résistance of the box. The one here shown with the badger, but also I based the goose just so you can see him in all his glory too. And the one good thing to come out of this box is that I will have a spare badger and goose to do whatever I want with. And here are the fox runners as well, who are a bit smaller than I was expecting, but still lovely miniatures. Not a bad team by any means, but certainly not knocking it out of the park like I thought it would. And here we see the new Treeman, and yeah, these things look quite spectacular, to be fair. Again, not as much variety here as I was expecting, but I do like the fact that the armors can be moved to any point you want, which is really good. And it does come with a secondary face option. And last but not least, Rodney Roachbait, who comes with probably one of the most fragile pieces of model I've yet had to work with. That fishing line wobbles and is basically held on by one dab of glue. Yeah, it is exceedingly fragile. And there we have it. That's everything in the box and a full representation, bar the cards, of what came with this Gnome release. Hope you enjoyed the video and yeah, hopefully see you on the next one. Ciao for now.